The empire had reached its zenith and was slowly, inevitably, beginning its decline. The golden palaces of Istanbul, gleaming under the Anatolian sun, shone brighter than ever before. But within their gilded walls, the shadows were growing longer, darker. At the heart of those shadows stood one woman, once a slave, now a queen, and soon a legend. This is the story of Hurrem Sultan's final years and the last quiet betrayal that would haunt the Ottoman Empire forever. By the late 1550s, the fiery beauty that had once captivated a sultan had faded, but her power had not. Hurrem Sultan's laughter no longer echoed through the marble halls of the Topkapi Palace. Yet her influence still shaped every decision of the empire. She was no longer just the Sultan's beloved consort. She was his partner in rule, his choreogrant in all but name. She pored over state reports, advised on declarations of war, and corresponded with foreign kings and queens. For a woman who had entered the palace in chains, a captive from a distant land, Hurrem had achieved the impossible. But power. Power always comes with a price. The execution of Prince Mustafa, Suleiman's firstborn son, had left a deep, festering wound in the heart of the empire. The Janissaries, the elite soldiers who had once worshipped Suleiman, now whispered his name with barely concealed anger. To them, she was the witch, the poison of the throne, who had manipulated their glorious sultan into killing his own heir. The position of Grand Vizier became a revolving door. Each man was either fiercely loyal to Hurrem, or was swiftly doomed by her machinations. Even Suleiman the Magnificent, the conqueror of worlds, the lawgiver, was a changed man. He was now a tired ruler, buried in sorrow and regret. He no longer led his armies into glorious battles. Instead, he spent his days writing poetry, mourning the son he had ordered to be strangled. And perhaps the woman who had so completely altered the course of his life and his reign. Hurrem spent her last years in the Topkapi Palace, surrounded by unparalleled luxury and profound loneliness. Her greatest rivals were gone. Mahidevran, the mother of Mustafa, was exiled and forgotten. Mustafa himself was dead. The once bustling harem, a nest of plots and whispers, was now silent, completely under her control. But within the quiet of her own heart, the voice of guilt whispered louder than ever. She had fought so hard, so ruthlessly, to protect her own sons and secure their path to the throne. But now she saw the truth. Her ambition had torn the very fabric of the empire apart, yet she did not rest. Hurrem poured her energy and wealth into public works, founding magnificent mosques, schools for children, and soup kitchens for the poor. The Haseki Hurrem Sultan complex in Istanbul became a symbol of her dual nature, a place of mercy and charity built by a woman accused of unspeakable cruelty. It was as if she was trying to build a legacy that would outshine the darkness of her deeds, to leave behind a memory of piety and grace. By Iwuwu Ba, Hurrem's health began to fail. The once radiant queen, whose smile could light up a room, was now frail. Her body weakened by years of constant stress, political battles, and a recurring illness. Before she could find peace, one final storm would strike the palace. Her staunchest ally, her own son-in-law. The Grand Vizier Rustam Pasha was accused of massive corruption and manipulating state affairs for personal gain. For the first time in decades, Suleiman turned a cold shoulder toward Hurrem. The trust that had been the bedrock of their relationship began to crack. He started to see what his ministers and his people had whispered for years, that his empire, his family, and his own peace of mind had all been slowly consumed by one woman's towering ambition. It was the final, quiet betrayal. Cold distance grew between them. It wasn't hatred, but something far more painful. A shared sorrow for all that had been lost. Hurrem died with the heartbreaking knowledge that the man who once defied an entire empire for her love now looked upon her memory with a complex mixture of adoration and profound regret. In April of Iwuwuba, Hurrem Sultan took her final breath inside the Topkapi Palace. No one recorded her last words. All that is known is that her passing left the palace in an eerie, unnatural silence. The vibrant heart of the court had stopped beating. Suleiman, devastated, ordered that she be buried beside him in the magnificent Suleimani Mosque, the grand complex they had built together. A testament to their shared vision, stone by stone, dream by dream. Her tomb still stands there today, stunning octagon covered in Islamic tiles of paradise gardens and verses from the Quran, timeless monument to love, power, and tragedy. After Hurrem's death, Suleiman was never the same. He became a ghost in his own palace, withdrawing from public life. The poetry stopped. The smiles vanished. He died 8 years later, far from home, during a military campaign in Hungary. His body was brought back to Istanbul, and he was laid to rest right beside her. Even in death, the empire could not separate them, but their epic love story had changed everything. As Hurrem had feared, her sons immediately went to war for the throne. And brother turned against brother, plunging the empire into a bloody civil war that weakened it from within. And yet she left another legacy, as the age of the sultanas had begun. For the next 100 years, a series of powerful women, inspired by Hurrem's example, would rule the Ottoman Empire from behind the curtains of the harem. Hurrem Sultan was a woman of stark contradictions, a slave who became an empress, a loving mother who sacrificed one son for the others, a devout believer who committed great sins simply to survive. To some, she remains a manipulative seductress who destroyed a golden age. To others, she was a visionary political genius, a woman who played the game of power better than any man. But one truth remains undisputed: Hurrem Sultan changed the Ottoman Empire forever. Her laughter once filled the golden halls of Topkapi, even now, centuries later. Her story echoes through history, a powerful reminder that even the smallest voice, from the most unlikely person, can shake an empire to its very foundations. She came in chains. She left as a queen, and history will forever remember the woman who made an empire bow. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the most incredible chapters of history. See you next time.